Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Sleep Mechanics and Strategy Guys series. In this episode, we're going over something that is very relevant very soon for a lot of people, well, for everybody, and that is the Super Skill Week. Now, it's coming up just around the corner. We kind of dropped this pretty late uh, into the game, so yeah, we have Super Skills Week coming up just around the corner. So, what is the best strategy for this week? And I think given the little amount of prep time that we're being given, it's not as bad as it was for the New Year's event, a 2-week event, be it where we literally had to prep if we wanted to do any prep during another event. This one, we actually have a week of downtime to possibly do some sort of prep. So I just want to talk about like kind of what some strategies might look for with it. Now, as far as which hunts to go for, the only thing that I'd say of note is, just look in these lists for which Pokemon that you want to hunt the most. Um, Eevee is going to be pretty much everywhere, so if you want Evolution, it doesn't matter, but for every other Pokemon, they're only going to be at certain islands, so go to the island that the hunt is most available. However, notably, because it is Rufflet's release, they're giving it a greater appearance rate instead of a slightly greater appearance rate. Meaning, if you're particularly interested in the Rufflet line, then don't worry about the other skill specialists because they'll still show up at their regular amounts on the other islands. But if you really want a good Rufflet, then now is the time that it's probably gonna be the best time to be hunting the Rufflet. So I'd suggest going to either Cyan Beach or Snowdrop for the purpose. It's available at Greengrass Island, yes, but there's so many other things that are spawning at Greengrass Island that it's gonna be clogged down by other stuff. That is also boosted. So I'd say if you really want the Rufflet, then Cyan Beach or Snowdrop are the places to go. Otherwise, kind of base it off of what you are hunting and where you have available to you. Now, if there's any particular targets that you have, never go to Greengrass. Greengrass is the worst island for targeting anything in particular, just because it does have so many options that no single option in particular is going to be really truly huntable there. But if you want kind of a smorgasbord of all available options, then Greengrass is your best option. So that's really what I'd say about island choice. But now I want to get into teams. Now, I think there's going to be a couple different subskill or subgenres of potential teams that could be viable during this week. And I'd say if you really want to toy around with it, then just kind of go into the calculator and figure out yourself. Some of these teams won't really be treated very well by the calculator, but I still want to discuss them because I think they're fun. But yeah, no, I think this is going to be the standard for this event. Just skill specialists galore. It's particularly charged strength skill specialists, because it's the one skill that doesn't really rely on another mechanic to be very strong. Like Dedena's skill, it relies on that you have good ingredients, which in order to have a strong meal and get usage out of Dedena's skill, most likely you're going to have to prep in advance or run an ingredient specialist during the week. And if you want to get the most out of those event boosts, then you're not going to be wanting to run an ingredient specialist. So, yeah, the Legends or Arcanine or Jolteon, like the extra helpful Pokemon, they get the most out of their skill when they're paired with ingredients and berry specialists to proc on to produce more berries or more ingredients. So their skill is ultimately weakened by this event. Not weakened by the event. It is boosted. Don't take that out of context and say it was weakened. It wasn't weakened. They're not weakened. But they are boosted. But if you're running it alongside other skill specialists, it's not going to be as powerful in theory than just running a team of skill specialists that looks very similar to this. And I threw the Sudowoodo up here. Now, quick disclaimer, the sub-skills in here are kind of just chosen at random. They are all Pokemon that exist in my box to a degree. Like this Sudowoodo was technically an Ampharos. So these are all ones that I have in my box. But ignore the numbers, because this is not a strength comparison. I'm just showcasing what the teams could look like. If you want to try and figure out actual strength, go in and do the analysis for yourself. Because I wasn't trying to analyze the strength of viable teams here, or what the best option truly is. I just want to talk about what the potentials are. So, This is going to be the easiest one to go about. Arguably the most streamlined and basic, easy to go about is a team that just has a lot of Charge Strength M and Charge Strength S Pokemon. I think you should put more into like the Espeon, Sudowoodo, and Ampharos than a Golduck, because even if you're collecting constantly, I mean, the Golduck's procking roughly 13 times a day. I don't know if anyone checks truly that often. If you do, good for you. But I know that a lot of people have lives that they're getting to, and life gets in the way oftentimes. Not saying that you don't have a life if you do check that often, but not everyone has the potential to do that, and I think the Golduck is going to go down significantly in strength output during this week comparative to the Charge Strength M brethren that it has. So I'd say don't rely so much on Golduck if you don't have to. If it's your only skill specialist that has the skill, you know what? Go for it. It's what you have available to you, and an option that you have is always better than an option that you don't. So, but I'd recommend more Ampharos, Sudowoodo, and Espeon. Sudowoodo, I think, is actually a bit more viable during this week than it is normally, because usually one of the big things holding it back is that, yes, it procs more than Espeon on average, but the Sudowoodo is so much slower that it doesn't produce as much berries and ingredients. Well, in an event where skills are boosted, the Sudowoodo is actually going to jump above the Espeon in productivity, just because it actually is beating the Espeon in skill procs. Whereas the Espeon beats it in overall productivity because it also produces berries and ingredients at a faster rate than Sudowoodo. So, and yeah, that makes Sudowoodo an actually decently viable pick during this week and this week alone. Well, it's viable other weeks if you have the right sub skills in nature, but that's a different discussion. But yeah, interesting pick there. Now, next team that I want to discuss, I want to talk about the Legends. The Legends are kind of interesting because, like I said, they're boosted, but they really only benefit most if you pair them with like Pokemon of the same typing or berry specialists or ingredient specialists. So I just kind of threw together a couple teams. I think Entei it's the roughest for because it doesn't have any potential healers. So if you want a healer, you're going to have to run an off type, which is really not the best option because it does weaken the Entei significantly. But if you have a good Slowking, I want to talk about the Slowking as a potential healer. Now, it's got the same sort of problem as what the Golduck does. You're collecting it a lot. Now, it's not as significant as the Golduck difference, but as you can see here, proccing 8.68 times per day, that's pretty significant. And while it's still not as good as an energy for everyone healer, for that boost of being able to run another water type, if you look at the energy curve here, it's really not all that bad. 2.0378. That's still above 2 times value from the overall energy curve. And that's assuming that we don't have any skill seeds or and a pretty simple Slowking. This isn't like a great Slowking. It's just one level evolution with Help Speed M and Skill Trigger M. Let's say you have skill level up in here. Then suddenly it's proccing at max level skill, which it wasn't before. And now their energy curve is even better than it was before, to be 2.1495. That's getting pretty close to the maximum of 2.222. In fact, while they're awake, it is at that maximum. So now, granted, this is averages. There's a lot more RNG when it comes to this main skill of energizing cheer, but during this week, this guy's proccing so much that, you know what, he could be a viable healer. Other alternatives would be running a Wigglytuff, or especially if you're doing this at Cyan Beach, then Wigglytuff's actually pretty good as well, because it has Favored Berry. It doesn't match the Suicune's type, but you could run it for like a little bit, get the team topped off, and then take it off. It's a lot easier to do that during a week like this than it would be otherwise, because the healers are just proccing that much more. So it's worth consideration as well. Now, I also want to talk about Raikou, because Raikou is unique in being the only one that has Pawmot. Now, I don't think anybody... I mean, there are some people out there who have a good Pawmot, but it's going to be few and far between because it's still a relatively new Pokemon. But you could run a team that looks something like this, with the Ampharos, the Raichu, the Jolteon, looking for the whole similar idea of using the Legend's main skill. It's going to be a little bit weaker than what you'd expect it to be, probably, because you're running, look at this, 4 skill specialists and a berry specialist. So it's like when you proc the berries will be nice, but overall it might be just a little lackluster compared to what you think it's going to be. But it is the only healer. It is the only Legend that has the Pawmot, the full team potential here. But I would highly recommend the Ampharos. Ampharos very powerful during this week, in my opinion. Alrighty, then I want to talk about some meme teams. Meme team, dream teams. I threw this together, this one. If you are interested in Dream Shard farming, then it really doesn't take a very good Swalot to produce significant amount of Dream Shards during this event. All of these Swalots don't have any skill seed investment, as you can see here. Or, I guess you can't. Oh yeah, you can. If you look at the skill level. It's showing level 5. They're just evolved once. All they have is skill trigger M. And as you can see, this one I did put some skill seeds into just for comparison's sake. But they produce about 8,062.99 Dream Shards per proc. Over the course of the week, that would lead to... Give me one moment. That would lead to about 225,000 Dream Shards over the course of a week. Off of just these guys and these guys alone with a good healer. And then the last one here is to signify if they had skill seed investment, it's almost double, not quite. Well, for comparison's sake, I just wanted to see if you go to the old gold power plant and get a million Snorlax strength per day, then how many Dream Shards would you get on average? And I ran a little simulation here, that as I like to do, and I added all this up, and it came to roughly like 298,000, basically 300,000 Dream Shards, if you combine your Dream Shard output and your Research XP output, assuming that you're at level 60, which is only about 32% better than what the team of all Swalots with just Skill Trigger M and nothing else going for them that were evolved from, like, so you have better Swalots than this, you have a better Sableye or something, it's going to do even better than this. So if you really need Dream Shards for some reason, and reminder, I was comparing that to if you could get a million Snorlax strength per day at the old gold power plant. I don't think anyone's really at the point where they can do that right now, especially for this event. Now, come back to the channel in a couple weeks, and I might be speaking differently. But we'll talk about Valentine's Day event if it comes around and when that gets there. Stay tuned, everybody. Anyway, so yeah, Dream Shards. Good opportunity for lots of Dream Shards. Even if you just throw one Swalot on the team, if you need Dream Shards, it's gonna be carrying quite heavily. This is about as impactful as like the doubling Dream Shards from the Dream Shard event that was happening before, and it's at 1.5 times boosted skill trigger rate as well. So, while I think there are better uses for this event, this is an interesting niche, and maybe you could put one on the team just for some bonus Dream Shards. But yeah, then the next team, and this is actually the team that I intend to run, because I just want to have fun with the event, and something you can see here, this is probably the actual team that I will run most likely. Heracross Vaporeon, proccing to create just boatloads of ingredients, of fully random ingredients I cannot predict. Flareon to increase the pot so that I can actually hold all those ingredients, because my gosh, hundreds of ingredients here for me. Dedenne to make it so that meals have more value by increasing their crit chance, and Wigglytuff for healing. So I think that if you run an ingredient magnet Pokemon, make sure that you're running a pot increaser as well, or using a good camp ticket or something like that, because my goodness, these guys are going to output a stupid amount of ingredients, as you can see here. And I think the Den has nice synergy with that because it gets extra meal strength. I don't think it's really optimal. I don't think it's efficient, but it is fun. And look at this, collecting, based off this one I just randomly threw together, 22 tails a day is not a bad estimate. If I can get that, that'd be a decent amount of tails that I could stockpile for a theoretical future event, which is another thing that I intend to do. with this week, since I'll be getting just that as a side product of whatever the heck I'm doing here. Okay, then the final one I talk about, this is probably the biggest meme team I came up with and theorized, but Togekiss. Now, normally Togekiss we don't think about. I don't think anybody has the box for this, but I still think it's a funny discussion to be had. It's a Pokemon that's going to really, really benefit from this whole concept because it can do it all. It's doing a little bit of everything, and if you theoretically have an entire team of Togekiss, then it's going to have skill level 6 because it's proccing at max comparatively. Because it's evolved from base, theoretically. And if you have just Health Speed M and Skill Trigger M on each one of them, like I said, I know nobody's box looks like this, but I just want to talk about it because I find it funny. That's 6.77 procs per day, and that's assuming no good camp ticket, because that's how I coded it. Also, it's assuming a terrible energy curve, because the Rain on X calculator does not account for... It really doesn't do any of the math with Metronome. It doesn't value it at all. So, ignore the number down here. Ignore even the output amount, because realistically, they should be getting decent amount of energy from this. Because there are only 18 skills that I can pull from the pool of. And of those 18 skills, 3 of them recover energy. If you have all of these Pokemon proccing at max level skill 6 times a day, then on average, each one's going to proc 1 energy recovery skill per day. That could be energy for everyone, which recovers a little bit for the whole team. It could be the self-recharge, which recovers almost half their energy for just that one individually, or energizing cheer, which is most likely to proc on the lowest energy one. Like, there's going to be a shocking amount of energy recovery here, despite it being a team of fully random Pokemon, which, if I had the team for this, honestly, I might run this, because this just seems really, really funny. And it kind of brings me happy to even theorize about. But notably, they're also going to be getting you Dream Shards, like I was talking about with the Swalot. They'd also be getting you a significant amount of strength if they happen to proc Charge Strength M. Like, they're just going to do a little bit of everything. Helper boost procs would be kind of lame, especially because it'd just be base level 6 because there's only one fairy type. If you really want to make energy recovery more reliable, you could throw like a Wigglytuff on the end here, which I think it'd probably be better just to go all in. But you could throw like a Wigglytuff on the end. You could make one of these a Togetic or even a Togepi if you really wanted to meme it. But I just wanted to discuss the real meme team here that I think if someone actually had the box for, I think this could be actually somewhat viable. Not optimal, but viable. It's probably the only discussion that you'll ever have where I ever will suggest that Togekiss could potentially be a viable choice. But yeah. So, if you have enjoyed the discussion, maybe learned a little something, or had some laughs about those last couple meme teams, then be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I like to discuss the strategies for this game, and I'll be on top of it in the future. So, yeah. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye now.